Hey everyone, welcome to the Tech Diva Success podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Scheffler, as I mentioned in the intro, and today I am with Michelle Cho. Hi Michelle, how are you?
Hi Nicole, good, how are you?
Doing
Thanks
good.
for
And
the invitation.
yes, I'm excited to have you
Yeah.
on the show. Michelle is the founder of Echo Wealth Solutions, which is a financial advisory company, which is awesome because they specify their focus for women in STEM. So she gives women in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math comprehensive plans and ongoing support so that we can make our decisions with ease and with confidence. And she has that role as a certified financial planner and chartered special needs consultant, and has her bachelor's of physics, which we'll talk about in a minute, pretty interesting, from University of California, San Diego. And she also studied advanced physics, basically, at Cornell, high energy physics. So we're excited to have her on the show. She's also, prior to becoming a financial planner, was a tech diva herself in business development. So tell us a little bit more about physics and your background, Michelle.
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to share, and thank you for having me here. And I'm really excited to share my background and share what I do as a financial planner as well. So basically, physics was like my fascination since middle school, I guess. And in like early on, ever since I was young, I was very curious about where I came from and why I was here and where I would go after I die. So those are the questions that kind of kept me go. And in the physics, when I encountered physics, that was a very fascinating. The physics studies the origin of the universe and also our place in it, right? So I went to study physics in college, and I also went to grad school for a couple of years. And it was really exciting, right? I was fascinated, and it was an interesting study. But at the same time, like in my 20s, I was struggling with my other question, why I was here, and my purpose. And also I was I was like deeply troubled by some social issues, right? Poverty, inequality, injustice, war, violence, child abuse, woman abuse, all those societal problems and systemic problems that exist still in today's world. And I was, it was very deeply troubling. And I thought, I didn't know where to go to find the answers, but I decided to leave physics because I didn't feel like I could find solutions or answers to those questions. So it was, I was like a little lost, and I was really depressed during those times. And, to be honest, I was like just didn't have life goals for a few years in my early 20s. And only actually in my late 20s after I left my grad school. And was kind of, I should say, like I was just living just to survive. But long story short, things changed when my son arrived. So my depression went away when my son was born, and then he became the compass of my life since then.
But
Right.
sounds like that was a big pivotal moment for you. I think a lot of people with goals and direction do struggle early on. And as we'll talk about later, when it comes to finances, that can really hurt you in long-term planning. But, obviously you did some time in technology, but then why did you move into the financial space?
Yeah. So it was a journey as well. So after I left grad school, I was working IT, and so I was making a good money. As most women or most people who have a STEM background, we make a good money, good earnings, but we never really learn about finances or money or how to manage it, right? So I didn't really know or have any plan, to manage my money effectively. I was just some saving into 401k and also saving into savings account. But I, didn't have any plan. Kind of looking back, I feel like, should I, have some guide or financial planner, who knew what I know right now, I would have made like very different decisions about money, and would have reached my financial independence much earlier. But because I didn't know, I had to really go through the painful experiences, right? So it was back in like 2007. I decided to quit my job and to spend some time with my son, who was 4 years old then. And, so at the time, just before I quit the job, I was working as a business development person in entertainment licensing industry. So I was traveling a lot. I would be gone for about 2 weeks, and my son was really young, and I felt like I was missing out a lot. So I wanted to spend some quality time with my son. So with some money that I saved up, I decided to quit my job. Right? So and then I stayed home. And while I was staying home, that I became kind of interested in managing money, right? The money that I saved up. So I kind of started reading about stocks and investing and trading, and I got into trading stocks. And I thought, I could make some money, it's easy, right? So I was like, buying and selling stocks, and that was a huge mistake, right? And it was kind of disaster. I lost most of my money in stock market. And then it was just a low point in my life, right? So financially, that was like lowest point in my life. I was a little, I'm kind of a little embarrassed to share this, and I was kind of thinking like, should I, say this in the interview? But I think it was important for me to share it because I learned an important lesson from it, right? So right around that time, I met a mentor and later a boss at a hedge fund who taught me that in order to master the money game, you have to really master your inner game, right? The psychology of trading and psychology of investing or managing money, which really resonated with me a lot. So, after that, I went through a few months of self-reflection and for personal development work. And during that time, I learned that there are 4 different types of money personality based on your belief about money. And, also based on, that belief is formed by your childhood experiences and, the teachings that we get from our parents or from society or from teachers, right? So there are 4 types. And one is a saver, spender, avoider, and monk. So you can see that what the saver and spender means, right? Saver is like people really enjoy like accumulating money, right? They feel so happy like whenever their account goes up. And the spender finds joy purchasing things, right? Buying a nice purse or nice clothes. And then avoider are people who just don't want to talk about or think about the money subject, right? So they they think the money is here and it will be there, so they don't really manage or plan anything like that. So that's avoider. And then monks are people who think that money is evil, right? So they try to get rid of them. So based on those 4 different types, right? Nicole, what do you think you are?
I actually have an obsession with paying down debt. Like whenever I pay something off, I get really excited. So I think that makes me more of a saver, but I also love shopping therapy. So I love
okay.
spending too.
Yeah. Everyone has like a little bit of each, right? But then there are some dominant personality.
Yes.
Guess what I was?
A spender.
Well, I was actually avoider.
Avoider.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought, so I didn't, as I said before, I didn't have, make much plans. And I always thought like, money will be there as long as I work, right? Money will be there. So I didn't really worry about it, right? But then I also didn't really pay attention to managing it. So.
Well, that's super interesting. I love those.
So
go ahead. Go ahead.
First thing is like to really mastering your inner game.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say, inner versus outer. And like
Mm-hmm.
many other aspects, whether it's work or your love life or, eating, you do model things kind of after what's been put in place in your childhood, right? What you've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole goal of our show is to make people that 1% better, and that's why your
Mm-hmm.
success
Mm-hmm.
tips today, I think we're going to talk a little bit about all kinds of capital.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to get into that because as we talked before, you have a lot of experience in these different areas. And I think some ways that women can invest their capital across some different areas. So why don't we try to talk about some
Yeah.
of those?
Okay, awesome. Yes, I love to. So once you master your inner game, your inner game, or like at least being aware of what type you are, right? And then you need to kind of build upon that. But for the people in STEM, right, and also for not only for financially, but in order to enjoy success in life, I think there are three critical capitals that you need to build over your time. So the first one is like human capital, right? So everyone in tech industry, they have invested a lot in their career and in their education, and that's your knowledge and that's your experiences. That's really important. So basically the capital means like something that you can leverage to produce something more, right? So the human capital is like the investment that you made on yourself. You can leverage that to make a contribution to the company or to society, or to produce income for you and for you and your family. So I believe that most valuable asset is you, more than anything else in your life, and that will give you a best return. And I think in future when with the technology advancement and AI and all the IoT advancement, I think the human capital will become more valuable. But the other two capitals are also important in my opinion. The next one I want to talk about is a social capital, right? So that's your social and human network, who can support you, and also who you can support as well. And also like for the social capital. So when you are in need, be open to receiving the support. Sometimes a woman, and as an independent woman, we are not really good at receiving other people's help and support, but it's important, right? Just be grateful when you receive help from other people, and also reach out to people like mentors and friends for support, right? So that's important.
Yeah, I
And at
think
the same
that's
time,
really, really important with the pandemic.
mm-hmm,
I see a lot
yeah,
of women struggling. It's hard already to get help. Baby daycare is not working out. Maybe you can't
mm-hmm,
see
mm-hmm,
your mother because that's who was there to help you or whatever it may be. So I think that's a very important message for all people out there listening, to make sure you're not
yeah,
afraid to ask for help,
right.
and then just pay it forward, when you can help someone else, help them. So I just wanted to stay extra supportive of that comment, because I think we do try to do it all. A lot of strong women in technology, we built our careers, we are mothers, we are sisters, friends, daughters, and like
Mm-hmm.
all these things to everyone, and it's hard to do that. So I just wanted to point out that it's okay, and I love coming from it a place of gratitude. So I love that
Mm-hmm.
point. So go
Mm-hmm.
on, sorry, I got
Yeah,
excited there.
no, it's okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so as you said, we want to help others as well, right? Like receive and help, also give. Because when you help others and do the good things for others, like your happiness index goes up, right? So the one of the things that I really love, and that I think of as my mantra, is the saying by Dalai Lama, and he said, like, you contribute to other people's happiness, you will find the meaning of life, right? So your social and human network is an important component of your for your well-being in life.
Yes, it's good to be wealthy and good friends and good company.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So lastly, is a topic of the financial subject, but yeah, you want to build the financial capital properly and then be able to leverage it throughout your life. It's being able to leverage it is important, right? You have an asset, and then you being able to leverage it is important concept. But people, especially in their like 20s and 30s, when you are young, right? The people in tech, they make good money, so they may not pay attention to how to build a financial asset, but it's really important. We are living in a market economy, right? When we stop working, our income stops. So at that time, then we have to depend on our financial assets and also our social network to create that income that to pay for the things that we need. So it could be, it may not be retirement, right? Like you may not wait until retirement, but it could be something like maternity leave, right? So, and also maybe like me, right? When my son was like 4 years old, I wanted to take some time off to spend some quality time with my son. So there may be like a couple of years of like time off, or maybe just take time off to see the world, or maybe improve your skills, right? So in order to do that, you want to have that financial capital that can support you through that stage. However, but how do we make sure that we don't run out of money? As I did, like, during that dark time. But how do you manage your money so that you can last, and also you don't start over from the ground zero, right? So there's a way that you can manage money so that you make sure that your money lasts, and also enjoy the compound interest. So those are the three capitals that I teach my people, that that's kind of really important to build a long-term success for everyone, but also especially people who are working in tech industry and women. Yeah.
And this show, and anyone listening out there, is not just to put this content in the world, but it's to put it in practice. It's to give you something that will change where you were before listening to this show to after. And I think when I reflect on what that would be, it is good to take, and I think meditation is hard for people to sometimes wrap their head around. Like, what do I do? Do I just sit there? Well, it doesn't always have to be some, 10 minutes listening to a waterfall. I think a great way to meditate is to look at this list that we've just discussed and have gratitude for your human capital, your human capital. What have you learned? What skills do you have? What do you bring to the table? What's your leadership? What's your heart space? Like, what have you invested in? What do you know? And be grateful for those, and to start to assess these things. What is your social capital? Do you need to invest more? Do you need to see, how can you help others? If you look at your LinkedIn recommendations, for example, someone once said to me, if someone has 20 recommendations and has given 0, what does that say? It says that they asked 20 people and got on them to give them reviews, but yet they haven't reviewed anyone else. So it was kind of a wake-up call to me, and that's when I made sure I invested in giving to the social world and to my network as much as I'm taking, which is a lot of what you're saying, Michelle, around give and take of life, give and take. Like, if you see a mother, I'm a new mother, I have a 2-month-old at the time of the show. So people were very kind to me when I had her, right? They brought over meals or flowers or, candies. And now I look at, when I get to where I can be, how can I pay that forward and do that for another new mom, be more supportive for my friends during this time. So I think evaluating your social capital and seeing, in the human capital, what do you need to do more to learn to bring up your game? And the social capital, if the economy ends, Michelle's absolutely right. It's not just the money you have, but it's who that can help you get the next opportunity to get you out of where you're at, or expand to more alignment to your life purpose for that. So I'm kind of geeking out on the fact that we can be very present with our human capital and assess it and think about it, and our social capital. And most of all, Michelle, it has actually some really great stuff we'll talk about after this, but financial capital, I think too often we only assess our financial. We don't think about our human capital because we put our degree on our wall and we move on, or we get our certification. And our social capital is something sometimes we take for granted, or some people say, I don't need to play the game right now. I'm not really looking for anything, but it's what you build before you need it. Because when you need it, it's not the time to start building out a network. But when you need to ask for something, build it when you can give. So when it comes to financial capital, I love this, and I think we do spend. I know for myself, I just put it away. That was my theory. Just put a bunch of money away, max out my 401k, max out my Roth, whatever I can do, and then I'll just worry about it later. Now, at least it's better than not saving anything. But for you, Michelle, do you have some principles, and I think you do, and talk a little bit about what you teach for financial independence, because that's really the capital where you're the expert.
Mm-hmm.
Tell
Yeah.
us about
So, yeah, since, I started working in financial industries 10 years ago, I read as many as books as possible. And also, I went through a training to really understand the money game, right? So I kind of distilled my understanding and my knowledge and my experience into these 7 principles. It's very simple, and I'm sure like everybody heard about it, but the 7 simple principles that you need to live by is like, first of all, set a goals, right? So everyone who is in tech industry, you set a goal to become a tech person at some point in life, and you put money and time into it to reach that goal, right? So it's the same thing with the financial goals. If the buying a house is your goal, then have a goal in a SMART goal, right? Have a specific timeline and all that, and then have a SMART goal, right? And then also think about why you want that, right? So your vision and what your purpose, right? So you have to kind of really align your goals with your vision, and that's one. And then the second one is like, pay yourself first before you're paying bills or what you want, right? Like spending. Take out a small portion and then save first. And then the third principle is start early, or start as soon as possible to enjoy the compound growth. And then fourth is diversify. And when you diversify, you need to pay attention to 3 important things. One is by asset allocation. Second is by time horizon, like when do you need that money, right? What that goal is, like short term, mid term, or long term. And then thirdly is tax wise. You want to be wise about taxes, right? So there are some 3 different buckets that you can save into. Some of them give you some tax advantage now, and some of them can give you some tax advantage later. So you need to diversify by tax wise. And then fifth is manage the risk. Life is full of surprises, so you need to be able to manage the risk. And then 6 is like stay disciplined, right? Once you have that plan, stay disciplined to stick to it, right? And then lastly, you need to review and update your plan as life changes, and also as your goal changes. And to be able to hit the target, you need to always readjust.
Yes, and I love hearing these Jack Canfield-ish success principles. And I think we both have a love for goals and success. And so I hope that everyone listening out there triggered something in them where they can set one goal from this episode to take action beyond listening to this, and set something that you can do to improve your human capital, your social capital, or your financial capital. And if you're looking to improve your financial capital, Michelle will help you. She's an expert in these, all those things she just talked about. I believe that you can help people more in that. So do you want to share how, and maybe your contact information so people can reach out to you?
Oh yeah, sure. Thank you. So everyone can check out my website, ecowealthsolutions.com. And then my phone number is 702-576-9838. And if you go to my website, there's a scheduling thing, so we can kind of start the conversation. So that's the best way to get hold of me.
Great. And we include links on our blog, which has a little more about the episode. And then do you mostly just do one-on-one advisory, or do you have like a course or papers, or, is it the best way for people just to reach out to you and see what's best for them?
Yeah. So the one-on-one, because I provide individuals, every plan is different, right? It's based on the individual's goals, so it's best. But I provide also some educations, the webinars, and yeah, definitely you can check out my LinkedIn to follow, if there's any webinar that I'll be posting on my LinkedIn. So yeah, I really strongly believe in like education, and not only from during the one-on-one consulting, but I do provide education also like to companies and organizations as well.
Great. And I love your focus on women and kind of bridging, wanting to help women in STEM in this so that you understand the tech sector. I'm sure you can work with conversations around investments around tech, which is really cool, and helping women in tech, which is great. So we hope that you can build some capital. Even listening to this episode, hopefully built a little of your human capital and knowledge of reflection on these 3 areas. And Michelle, it was so nice meeting you through this podcast, through this process. You were an awesome guest to drop some knowledge on these. And I love the containers and buckets that you put them in to really reflect on how grateful even I am for all of these things in my life and what I can do better tomorrow and even today to invest in that. So thank you so much. And thank you to all the listeners out there. Have a great day.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.